We're going to go on to a few examples here. First one is naming this circle. We always name a circle by its center. So this is going to be called circle, usually a little circle and dot, H. So circle H. Name a chord. A chord is a line segment that goes between two edges of the circle. It's inside the circle. So we could draw AB or DA here. AB or DA would work. So I'm going to do DA. So line segment DA. It says name a diameter. Now a diameter is kind of like a chord in that it goes edge to edge, but it specifically goes through the center of the circle. So dB would be a good example of a diameter, dB. Name a radius. A radius is half of a diameter, so we could pick HB or HD, either way. So I'm going to go HB. And then name a tangent line. So a tangent line touches the circle at exactly 1 point. So this line right here would not qualify because it touches it at 2 points. However, this line down at the bottom here touches it at exactly 1 point. So that line EC is going to work. Going on, it says find the length of QT. And we're given some information on this picture. So we're told that RS is equal to 4. Let's label that in. The segment is equal to 4. PS is 16. So this whole thing here is 16. And RU, this whole thing here, is equal to 22. And now that we have all these labeled, we can see that the 16 here for PS is a diameter, and so is the RU. Both of those are diameters. Cool thing about diameters is that you can split them in half to get 2 radii. So let's draw those in here. We can split that into 8 and 8. We can split this 22 into 11 and 11. And so what that's going to allow us to do now is start subtracting out the pieces we already know. If we want to find the entire length of Q to T, we're going to have to figure out how much overlap we actually have in here. From what I can see, if it's 8 from Q to S and it's 4 from R to S, then we must have 4 left right there from Q to R. And on the other side, if we have 11 from T to R, and we have 4 from S to R, subtract out that 4 and we only have 7 right there. So now if we follow our full journey along, we have 7, 4, and 7 between those two. So we can add that all together and get 15 as our distance. So the distance between Q and T is 15. Number 3 here says, given that the diameter is 16, what is the circumference of the circle? We know that the circumference is just to take your diameter and multiply it by pi. So all we would say for a circumference is it is 16 pi. And we don't even have to multiply it out. You could multiply by 3.14 and get a rounded answer. It's just as effective, if not more useful many times, to actually leave it in terms of pi. So writing 16 with a pi symbol next to it would be one good way to answer that question. And we'll see why as we do the next problem, number 4. It says, given that C is equal to 24 pi, what is the radius? Well, let's take our circumference, and we know that another way to write it is to say 2 times the radius times pi is equal to the circumference, because the diameter is the same as 2 times the radius. And we're told that C is equal to 24 pi. So since C is 24 pi and C is 2 times pi times radius, we can set those two things equal to each other. If we have a pi on both sides, we can divide both sides by pi and make those go away. If we want to get r by itself, because we want to solve for the radius here, we also have to divide both sides by 2. So the 2's cancel out, leaving just r alone over here. And then we have 24 over 2, which is really going to leave 12 over 1. So what we found out then is that r alone over here is equal to 12 over 1, or just 12. So our radius is equal to 12. If you don't believe it, the radius is 12, it means the diameter is 24, which means the circumference is 24 with a pi next to it, so 24 pi, which is where we started. So you can always work backwards if you're not sure if you did your calculations right. Number 5 says, given a circle with c equals 65.4, find the diameter and the radius. So here we're using rounded numbers, so we're going to need a calculator to actually figure these out. So we know that for the diameter, c is equal to pi times the diameter, which when we're using rounded values is 3.14 times the diameter. And we're told that that value is actually 65.4. So all those things are equal to each other. So let's get rid of this first part. And let's focus on the 3.14, just pi, times the diameter is equal to our circumference, 65.4. All we have to do to get d alone, our diameter, is divide both sides by 3.14. And if you do that, you're going to get 20.83. So that's going to be your diameter. So diameter equals roughly 20.83. The radius is always half of the diameter. So all we have to do is take our diameter and divide it by 2, which means that our radius is just going to take this number here, 20.83, and divide it by 2. So it's going to be 10.4, and then depending on how you do your rounding, if you were to cut this number directly in half, it'd be 415. If you were to go back to your calculator and take the unrounded answer and divide that by 2, that would give you an even better value for the radius, a more precise value. So number 6, we are given this diagram and we're asked to find the radius and the exact circumference. Whenever you see the word exact, it's always talking about keeping pi around. Rounded would be with a decimal. Anytime you want exact, you keep your pi's, you keep your square roots, things like that. In this picture you can see we have a right triangle. And we have a leg here, and another leg here, and then our hypotenuse over on the third side. So if we want to solve for our hypotenuse, we just need to use Pythagorean theorem since it's a right triangle. So we can do 10 squared plus 12 squared equals, in this case this side is a diameter, so I'll call it d squared. 10 squared is 100, 12 squared is 144. We add those together and we get 244 equal to d squared. So that means d is equal to the square root of 244. The radius then would be that number divided by 2. So the square root of 244 divided by 2. Are there ways to simplify this? There are. However, it's not something that we've talked about or learned about yet. If you do know how to do it, it would come out to the square root of 61. If you don't know how to do it, this answer would simply work for now. Now the exact circumference would be to take our diameter, so remember, go back to our diameter, our square root of 244, and multiply that by pi. So pi times square root of 244 is going to be our exact diameter. Or sorry, exact circumference. So we'll place c equals pi times diameter. So circumference, exact circumference is this right here.